So we are reading from the 4th canto, 24th chapter, text number 50. Chapter is entitled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text number 50. Purarachaka samvigna vali valgud dalodaram pratisankramayad vishvam nabhyavarta gabiraya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sila Prabhupada. Translation. The Lord's abdomen is beautiful due to 3 ripples in the flesh. Being so round, his abdomen resembles the leaf of a banyan tree. And when he exhales and inhales, the movement of the ripples appear very, very beautiful. The coils within the navel of the Lord are so deep that it appears that the entire universe sprouted out of it and yet again wishes to go back. Srila Prabhupada's purport: the whole universe is born out of the lotus stem which sprouted from the navel of the Lord. Lord Brahma sat on the top of this lotus stem to create the whole universe. The navel of the Lord is so deep and coiling that it appears that the whole universe again wants to withdraw into the navel, being attracted by the Lord's beauty. The Lord's navel and the ripples on his belly always increase the beauty of his bodily features. The details of the bodily features of the Lord especially indicate the personality of Godhead. Impersonalists cannot appreciate the beautiful body of the Lord, which is described in these prayers by Lord Shiva. Although the impersonalists are always engaged in the worship of Lord Shiva, they are unable to understand the prayers offered by Lord Shiva to the bodily features of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is known as Shiva Virinchi Nutam, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.33. For he is always worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Om Agana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Minobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapradantikam Vandiham Sri Guru Sri Yata Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sa Advaitam Sa Avadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavanishvari Brishabhanu Sutudevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpataribhascha Kripasindhaveva Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, we request the devotees to give their blessings so that we can say something that may be helpful on the path of devotional service. Reading text number 50 once again. The Lord's abdomen is beautiful due to three ripples in the flesh. Being so round, his abdomen resembles the leaf of a banyan tree. And when he exhales and inhales, the movement of the ripples appear very, very beautiful. The coils within the navel of the Lord are so deep that it appears that the entire universe sprouted out of it and again and yet again wishes to go back. Everything about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is perfect and complete. We hear from the Sri Ishopanishad. And part of that complete perfection is beauty. Krishna is known, is described, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described to be full in all opulences, all strength, all fame, all wisdom, like that. So the beauty of the Lord is being described in this section of the songs sung by Lord Shiva. So this is a very unique attribute to possess, that everything is beautiful. And normally if we're hearing about descriptions of the belly and so on, you'd think, well, you know, maybe it's not that attractive, but actually Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything about him is attractive. I was thinking a little earlier, you know, Madhuram, Madhuram, everything is sweet. The Lord's gait is sweet. And we're hearing here, his navel is sweet. It is beautiful. It's attractive. Everything about the Emperor of Sweetness is all attractive. So we have to get used to that. that is the nature of the Supreme. And the impersonalists, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, although the impersonalists are always engaged in worshipping Lord Shiva, they are unable to understand the prayers offered by Lord Shiva to the bodily features of Lord Vishnu. So Krishna says he doesn't reveal himself to the foolish and unintelligent. And in another place in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the impersonalists think that I have assumed this personality due to their poor fund of knowledge. Avyaktam vyaktam apanam, that they think that I was impersonal before, and now I have assumed this personality. Due to their poor fund of knowledge, they do not realize my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So it's a great mystery, the personality of Godhead. We can hardly imagine the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how attractive he is, how great he is. So all the great personalities have accepted this position of the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, we hear that Krishna says that he is the source. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartite. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts, Krishna is saying. And Arjuna says that I accept what you're saying, and it's not only me that is accepting, but all the great sages such as Asita, Davala, and Vyas proclaim this of you, and now you're declaring it unto me. So it's not a concocted religious process. Srila Prabhupada mentions that different religious processes spring up for various reasons in different parts of the world, and they're established. Just like I was thinking, we were looking down at Manukau. There's a big temple coming up there, and I was wondering what it was. It's right high on a hill, an amazing spot, and we did a little check on Google and found that it was actually the Mormon church. It's a big Mormon church, very elaborate, very nice place, beautiful site. Everyone will see it. And we were just thinking that, yes, Mormonism and thisism and thatism, this kind of religious process, often come, a few hundred years back, or even 1,000 years, or whatever back. And Srila Prabhupada recently, he was making comment that this is in all humility, Srila Prabhupada, and we have to try and see if we can emulate that humility. But he was pointing out that this is the yavanas, the different yavanas, those who are not following this transcendental system of Vedic knowledge coming from the Supreme Lord directly himself. So they sprout up, and there's some idea. There's not a full idea of the personality of Godhead. And so the Vedic literatures, in the various Vedic literatures, the Supreme is described, and he is accepted by all the great personalities. Lord Shiva is accepting the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and Lord Brahma is also offering his prayers to Lord Vishnu. I'm trying to remember what that was. There's Brahma Boli Chaturmukhi. How does it go? Brahma Chaturmukhi. And it says Lord Shiva with his 5 heads is also glorifying the Lord. Lord Brahma with 4. Brahma Bolo Chaturmukhi with his 4 mouths, he's glorifying the Lord. And there's a feature of Lord Shiva also describing that Mahadev is also glorifying the Lord. So all the great personalities, as we mentioned, Bhagavad Gita, Sita, Devala, Vyas, they're all accepting the Lord. Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, they're offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here we're hearing everything about Krishna is attractive. Everything is sweet. Everything is beautiful, unlimitedly. Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Sattvam Srimadir Urjatameva. Krishna, another place, Bhagavad Gita says, you should know that all beautiful, mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So we can hardly imagine the beauty of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada points out that the pure devotees of the Lord, they're accepting all of this. They see the beauty of the Lord in every aspect of his manifestation. They see the beauty of the universe and the universal creation and manifestation. They're very happy to hear that, to meditate on that universal creation. And then the secondary creation of Lord Brahma is described. The devotees are happy to hear about that. How amazing Krishna's devotees and all the arrangements that the Supreme Lord has made. How inconceivably wonderful are those activities of the Lord. His various what can be seen. And so as I've kind of thought, that Yad Yad Vibhuti, all this is coming from just a spark of my splendor. Krishna is saying that. So the idea, I'm just thinking to go back slightly. Lord Shiva, since that is the Lord Shiva, just tracking back slightly to come to where we were. Lord Shiva was very pleased with the Prachetas. And why was he pleased with the Prachetas? Because of the surrender of the Prachetas to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Shiva was described in those verses that he is the greatest Vaishnava. So he's very happy and wants more than anything to glorify the Lord and the Lord's devotees. Although we know Lord Shiva is looking after those who are influenced by the tamagun, but his real pleasure is and his real pleasure of interaction is with Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu's devotees. So it's explained there in, I think it's around where maybe 28th verse of this Prabhupada quotes Samahatma Sadulabaha. So these personalities It's 719 of Bhagavad Gita, are very rare. That they surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they surrender to the will of the Lord. This is interesting, that the will of the Lord is to be surrendered to, and we tend to not want to do that due to our independence. We think that I don't want to surrender. I want to be the Purusha, the controller, but we are actually Prakriti, and therefore we have to realize, no, let independent, don't realize we are fathers. Krishna is saying so, and that will be good for you. And we don't want to do that, so we think ourselves independent. But if we analyze our existential situation in this world, we are always forced to serve the will of others. And we think, no, I don't, but you do. We all do. You're forced to serve the will of the government. You're forced to serve the will of your wife or your husband, the will of your children, everywhere. And that is called, that is the desire of the living entity to experience pleasure is always experienced in relationship. Now we've forgotten our relationship with the Supreme, and we are struggling to find the satisfaction, and that is only to be found in relationship. So in every relationship, we are forced to serve the will of others. Persons say, well, damn it, I'll buy a dog and I don't have to enter into a relationship. And the dog will be obedient and worship me. Yes, to some extent, but actually the fact is that you will have to serve such a dog. And we see that in the West, especially. And now, I don't know, goodness knows in India if it's happening there, but you get plastic bags and everyone has to pick up the stool of the animal. And in this way, you're forced to serve. So Krishna is encouraging us to rectify our mentality. So Lord Shiva is very pleased with such personalities because he is the greatest Vaishnava, and he's pleased to see everyone else. And when he saw the Prachetas and their determination to perform austerities to please the Supreme Lord, he was very, very happy. And he said, then I want to give shelter in that way. And I want I want them to be successful in their attempts. So he advised the Prachetas to hear him very attentively. So this is one that I picked up. I can't remember which verse it was exactly, but recently, that if we hear properly, and it's so important that we hear, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire submissively and render service unto the spiritual master, and he can enlighten us and give us Krishna consciousness. So that consciousness that the supreme shelter is Bhagavan Sri Krishna is explained, it's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila. It says that Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabhabricha. Krishna alone, Eka, Ishvara, the Supreme, is Krishna. And everyone else is described as sub-abricha. They're all servants. Everyone else is a servant. And that is corroborated by the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the famous verse that Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam, that gosh, my brain doesn't get that one. I can't get the first little word. Ete chamsak kala pumsham Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam Indrai Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. That the other, first of all, the Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. He's the origin of all others, and all other incarnations and manifestations of the Supreme are either plenary portions of the Supreme, or they are portions of a plenary portion. They're manifestations or expansions of those plenary portions. So this is an amazing science, amazing science. The living entities have to be understood. The cosmic manifestation has to be understood. The way that the Lord interacts with the living entity, so many features of our existence here in the material world and ultimately in the spiritual world have to be understood. And the whole thing can be understood only by the taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So going on is working the Krishna, we were just saying a little bit. Mayajakshena prakrite suyate sacharacharam hetunanena jagat viparavartate. That this material nature is working under my direction, and it is producing all moving and non-moving beings. By its will, this cosmic manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So this is the potency of Krishna. Then in, I think it's text 40, everything is revealed. Lord Shiva is praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be kind to the living entities, the conditioned souls, so that simply by chanting, everything will be revealed, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is an amazing potency. Again, science is opened up again. The potency of the mantra, the name of the Lord is not different from the Lord himself. Again, what's that verse? Brain slow on verses again. What is that verse? Nam Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nityamukta Binatvan Nama Namino. There's no difference between the name of the Lord and the Lord himself. So this way of connecting to the Supreme is advised, especially in the age that we live, the age of Kali, that simply by this connecting process of chanting, associating with Krishna through the chanting of his holy names, then everything is revealed to us, everything can be understood, because Krishna says, Tesam satata yuktanam brajatam priti purvakam tadamhi bhuti yogam tam yena mamupayantate. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So this is a fundamental verse of Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is reciprocating in this relationship to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love. And how do we do that in the Kali Yuga? Again, Bhagavatam describes different yugas, different processes. And in this age of Kali, there is no other way than the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So even when we do yagyas, it is accompanied. Jiva Goswami makes that clear that in the Kali Yuga, all processes of puja and yagya, etc., must be accompanied by the chanting. Otherwise, it will be imperfect. There are so many imperfections. And we saw that in Srila Prabhupada's establishing of the Krishna Balaram temple in India, where he opened the temple and he invited different pundits to come and perform yagyas in the temple, knowing that the local community there would, the Brajbasis would not accept so well the Prabhupada's temple unless these different pujas were done. But Prabhupada said, yes, that is understandable. So he invited them and everyone did. But he said it must be accompanied by the chanting of Hare Krishna. And basically for our purposes, the Yuga Dharma is the chanting of Hare Krishna as is inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the Kali Yuga. So Lord Shiva wants the Lord to be kind to the conditioned souls. He's praying like that out of his magnanimity, so that simply by chanting, everything can be achieved. Because we understand that the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is coming after the departure of Lord Krishna for his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. And the people of this dark age of Kali will get light from this Purana. And the light that is being shined is to take up for this age, the chanting. When Parikshit Maharaj was inquiring, what is the most important thing for someone who is about to die? And the reply by Shukadev Goswami is that the constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including all the different kinds of persons, those who are self-realized, those who are not. So this chanting is very, very important. So Lord Shiva, in text 44, he wishes to see the exact form that Krishna's very dear devotees worship. So this is a very intimate darshan that requires, and Prabhupada explains in purports there, that this darshan of seeing the form of the Lord requires purified senses, and they have to be purified fully. And therefore, we are always encouraged this process is Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. Tivrena means the intensive practice of devotional service. The chanting of Hare Krishna, it can begin through the offensive stage, just simply chant. And then there's the clearing stage, and then we make progress in the clearing stage to clear out the anarthas. And if you keep going, it requires full purification. Otherwise, one can chant the holy name for many births and not get the love of Godhead, which is a desired result. So we have to go forward more. And Lord Shiva's request is to see that, to get that darshan of the Lord, the very dear devotees worship, and all the false designations, the upadis have to be cleaned out. So and these other personalities Prabhupada mentions in the purport of that verse, he says that the karmis, they are more interested, they're trying to relate to the Lord as sorry, I just get distracted. They're trying to, as an order supplier. So that is the karmic way, approaching for something, some benefit and a good education for my children, some colored TV in a house by the sea, like that. And then the Gyanis, they are more interested in merging into the Supreme, which is not acceptable for the Vaishnavas. They're not interested in such a type of liberation. The yogis are also not as dear as the devotees because their realization is partial, as they service, take up service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, in text 45 and 40 chapter, I'm sure that was a wonderful discussion in class on those topics. And Srila Prabhupada speaks about the neophyte devotees must follow the Pancharatrika Vidhi, as explained in the Narada Pancharatra. So we are certainly beginning this process, at least myself and maybe many others, from the neophyte position. And we have to be aware, though, some people may have engaged in devotional service in previous births and can, anyway, so that's another whole subject. But we are advised, and those words of Srila Prabhupada in the purport saying that we have to follow the Pancharatrika Vidhi, and Prabhupada goes to great lengths in that purport discussing how the deity of the Lord is Radha Krishna in ISKCON's temples. The worship is actually the worship of Lakshmi Narayan, in that there are regulative principles and articles to be offered in a certain method and way, and certain mantras to be chanted for the purification and for the establishing of the relationship of loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that process cannot be jumped over or neglected, but it has to be done. So it's an amazing mood that we engage in our service to Radha and Krishna. And we understand that we are actually followers of a path of Rupa Goswami, and that is Raga Bhakti, that is the spontaneous attraction of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, rather than the Vaidhi Bhakti, which is following the rules and regulations for purification and appreciating God's greatness with awe and reverence. So again, it seems like a conundrum for us how to understand that. Very nicely, Vaisheshika Prabhu explained in a couple of lectures that I listened to. He was quoting Shastra very voluminously, and he established that the followers of ISKCON are following the Raga Marg, and there's so much evidence for that. That the Tulsi Puja that we offer is, I think I've mentioned this before, but it is, we are praying to become a follower of the damsels of Braj. So certainly our line is the Raga Marg, but we have to not artificially come there, but we have to get there. And Vaisheshika was explaining in technical terms, Ajata Ruchi, Agyata Ruchi, Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So what a term that is, but it does make complete sense. Agyata Ruchi, it means that we don't have yet the taste. So we may not have the spontaneous, deep attraction of love for the Supreme Lord. So we don't have the taste, might have a little taste, hopefully. Otherwise, as we again, great signs, we wouldn't be able to go on as we do on this path unless there's a taste. Visayavani vartante niraharasya dehina rasavajam rasopyasya param drishvanavartate. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense engagement, though the taste for sense objects remains, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he can remain fixed in consciousness. So that's what calls us forward. We may slip on the way. We may have difficulties in different areas of our life, but we continue because there is a higher taste. And so we may not have fixed, that is nishta, where we come to the platform of being fully fixed, but we follow the path of Raganuga, spontaneous attraction, and it's still sadhana bhakti. So it's such a nice way that Srila Prabhupada in that text 45 and 46, his purports there explain this so nicely. So those were some notes that I was reading to and through and from, and I would like to just go to the quotation that Srila Prabhupada mentions in this text 50 of today's verse, and he says that Lord Vishnu is known as Shiva Virinchi Nutam from the 11th canto, for he is always worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. So I thought it would be good just to read a little bit of that. See if I can hold this book here. What have we got? Text 33. Prabhupada is quoting, 11.5.33. So I'll just read the English translation. It's quite a long verse. So the English translation of 11.5.33. This is Narad's teachings to Vasudeva. Translation. My dear Lord, you are the Mahapurusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I worship your lotus feet, which are the only eternal object of meditation. Those feet destroy the embarrassing conditions of material life. I thought that was a great statement. Those feet destroy the embarrassing conditions of material life. And we could talk all day about that, but we won't. And freely award the greatest desire of the soul, the attainment of pure love of Godhead. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the shelter of all holy places and of all saintly authorities in the line of devotional service, and are honored by powerful demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. My Lord, you are so kind that you willingly protect all those who simply bow down to you with respect, and thus you mercifully relieve all the distress of your servants. I'll read that again, if I may. My Lord, you are so kind that you willingly protect all those who simply bow down to you with respect, and thus you mercifully relieve all the distress of your servants. In conclusion, my Lord, your lotus feet are actually the suitable boat for crossing over the ocean of birth and death, and therefore even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva seek shelter at your lotus feet. And Srila Prabhupada, in his purport, says that the incarnation of the personality of Godhead in Kali Yuga is described and worshipped in this verse. So this verse comes just after Krishnavanam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangasya Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtane Prayer Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. This is the famous verse indicating of a number of verses, but this one indicates the Supreme Lord is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the verse just before this one that Prabhupada's quoting, text 33. So this is number 32. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So Srila Prabhupada discusses quite a bit about, sorry, now I'm getting, it's tricky when you jump from book to book. There was something I wanted to get to. Where is it? Yes, sorry, now I've got to it. Krishna. So this refers back to, yes, so Prabhupada goes to, in 33, discusses a lot about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and in establishing the incarnation of the Lord in the Kali Yuga to spread the Yuga Dharma. And then I'll just pick up, because it's a long purport. The followers, I'll pick it up here. The followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu strictly follow the four regulative principles of no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. They try to always chant Hare Krishna and engage in the service of the Lord. However, it may happen that by accident, an occasional symptom of Kali Yuga, such as envy or anger, lust, greed, etc., may momentarily appear in the life of a devotee. But if such a devotee is actually surrendered at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his mercy, such an unwanted symptom or anartha will quickly disappear. Therefore, a sincere follower of the Lord should never be discouraged in the execution of his prescribed duty, but should be confident that he will be protected. We heard that in the verse from today. Be protected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the protection of the Lord, the lotus feet Lord. And here, Prabhupada was speaking Shiva Varinchi Nutam. It is also mentioned in this verse, Shiva Varinchi Nutam. Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are undoubtedly the two most powerful personalities within this universe. Still, they meticulously worship the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? Saranyam. Even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are not safe without the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's worth just a quick comment there. We read in this chapter in the chapter of fourth canto, chapter 24, we read that Lord Brahma at the is still in the material existence, and his life has a specific duration, and one has to leave, even if one perfects, one has to go from Brahmaloka back to Vaikuntha Loka if one can do that. It's also explained that if one is very advanced in Brahmaloka, he can go to Shiva Loka. That Shiva Loka is in the marginal position. So Lord Brahma's planet is at the highest part of the material world. And then Lord Shiva is in that marginal position between the material and spiritual. But even Lord Shiva's planet is not able to give one full liberation to the Vaikuntha Lokas. So there, even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are not safe without the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The words Bri Yatri Ham Panata Phala indicate that if one simply bows down without duplicity at the lotus feet of the Lord, Pranata, then the Lord will give such a sincere candidate all protection. This verse does not mention that one need to be an exalted devotee of the Lord. Rather, it is stated that if one simply bows down at the Lord's lotus feet, he will get all protection. It's worth saying again. This verse, obviously, one cannot be a nonsense and bow down and then do all nonsense like that. That's not the idea. But if one in sincerity and humility, this verse does not mention that one needs to be an exalted devotee of the Lord. Rather, it is stated that if one simply bows down at the Lord's lotus feet, he will get all protection. And this also applies to anyone who is trying to serve the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even the neophyte will get all protection by the mercy of the Lord. So it's a very good point for us to appreciate and understand. We can be a humble sweeper. We can clean the Lord's temple. We can wash the Lord's pots. We can distribute books. We can organize and run temples. We can preach. We can do so many services can be undertaken. But the Lord, we understand He's not interested in our great opulent offerings, our great managerial position, our great preaching ability. If it is not developing the softness of heart and the love that Krishna wants to reciprocate, patram pushpam phalam toyam. If one offers me with bhakti, with a little bit of devotion, so this is what Krishna wants. He's hungry for that devotion. He's not hungry for 56 offerings or 1,008 offerings. That's not the hunger. But naturally, if you cook 1,008 or 56 or whatever number, there's a good chance there could be a little bit of devotion there, and Krishna would be interested. So again, there's this, yeah, pardon me. And now my mind's just gone back to this subject of coming to this level of raga bhakti, because it's an important point in this whole subject matter of becoming, quote unquote, Krishna conscious, and that is our deep interest. Pardon me. So everything will be revealed by the holy name. I was listening to a japa workshop. Romapad Maharaj was speaking, actually, and they were doing a holy name retreat in India, I think at Govardhan, and he was making nice presentation that everything will be revealed by the mercy of the holy name, and by the very subtle gradual process of taking more and more shelter of the holy name. And when we do Krishna through the holy name, will reveal everything to us in a way which is completely appropriate. And gradually we will become more and more attached to the Lord in the form of that holy name. And from the holy name will come the form pastimes, activities of the Lord. So I won't speak anymore. I'm going to finish there. I think I look at a clock. It's yes, absolutely good. As far as time is concerned, please excuse me for any shortcomings. And if anyone has any reflections, please feel free to unmute and reflect anything of the subjects that we've been discussing. Pardon me. And we can share them, or if anyone has a question, we'll do our best to try and address the question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
What a wonderful description of Lord's everything. It's beauty, His activities, so nice. Each and every attributes are so attractive, and it is in full. So
Just pause for once. Isn't that amazing? Isn't
yes,
that absolutely amazing? You know, threefold bending form playing his flute is very attractive, but
yes,
Vishnu is very attractive, and
yes.
Ananta Sesh is very attractive. Everything. Yeah. Please
So,
carry on. Please.
so this shows us that Lord attributes in the form of His activities, names, forms, pastime, everything is so attractive. By remembering one of these things, we can be very, very much attracted in any position we are. So this clarification is so nicely maintained by you. It's very, very important how you mentioned. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they also follow the same route, same
Yes.
way to get the mercy of the Lord. They are hungry for that only two things.
So I hear what you're saying is that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva want to get this connection and love for Krishna.
Yes.
You don't have to be a Lord Brahma or a big anything. You can still be follow the same path and get the same result.
Yes. So
That's amazing.
how important is that? So it's very nicely explained, and even as you are explaining from this 11.533, even Shreviring Chinutam, that explanation is really, really so important to understand. Even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they are not safe. They need to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. That's the ultimate goal of everybody's life. So without taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, nothing can be sorted out, and that is the ultimate.
I think it's great. I love your reflection. Yeah, there's only one truth, and that is that Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. All incarnations are coming from the Lord, and there's only one shelter, which is the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everything else is either a waste of time in material existence, and everything else can be a struggle. The Bhagavatam says like that even Aruru Krishena Param Padam Tata Padantiyada Anudrita Yusmad Angaraya says that even the great persons who perform great austerities, they can't maintain that full they're imagining that they're liberated, but they will be unable to maintain that detachment because by nature they are attached to the Supreme Godhead. That is our identity. Jivara Swarupa nature Krishna Das, Krishna Tatasta Shakti. We are the Tatasta Shakti. We see it, as I mentioned earlier on. I think we will go towards service. It's our swadharma. It's our intrinsic nature, and therefore we won't find complete a place to reside until we come to the lotus feet of the Lord. Krishna, Krishna. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other reflections? I can't see if there is any.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hari Bol Prabhu.
Prabhuji, thank you very much for the nice class, and particularly the point you pointed out that Krishna is beautiful because he is full in all his opulences. So Bhagavan means he has all the six potentials in infinite. I mean, it's not limited. But for us in the material level, everything is limited. That's why everybody, as you have told, in this material one, we are forced to serve someone. And serving means making some sacrifice. And that sacrifice we are doing often in a wrong place.
Yes.
If we do in the right place and make our service to the Lord, that makes us real.
Yeah, and it's not appreciated as much as we would like. Yeah, you perform some sacrifice, some service, and yeah, often it's not really appreciated. You would like it to be appreciated more, but that's because we're so puffed up. Oh boy.
And often we with the hope we think that it will make us happy, but ultimately it brings up we find that ultimately that it doesn't bring happiness. And just giving an example, the political leaders, they think that they are serving the people very much. They give their endeavor, no doubt about that. Some of them gives really, but ultimately we'll see the people will say, no, he didn't do enough for us. And similarly, so he gave everything, but ultimately is recognized he didn't give me everything. And it happens in everywhere, in every relationship. In the material world, it is like that. But if we give our service to the Krishna, it is altogether different. Whatever little we give, he what else? Repay us back with much more, much more times, and that is the real happiness. We should understand where the happiness comes from. If we know the source of the real happiness, then we can, giving our service to him, we can become really happy. But unfortunately, most of the people in this material world doesn't know the real source, how to get the happiness.
Yes.
Instead of Krishna, we are giving it to, as you have told, to relative world, and we remain unhappy perpetually. So if we turn our goal towards Krishna, everything will the real happiness will come to us, and our life will be fulfilled with happiness.
Hey, thank you. That was a lovely reflection. Yes, the happiness we derive. It's a good. Krishna is offering us a good deal. It's like give up that stuff that you've been trying, and then over here do a little seva, do a little service here. Absorb yourself in me. Always think of me. Become my devotee, etc. And re-enter into your real existence, because all of this is simply a small, this lifetime, is, I was talking about that last night, it's just a chapter, one chapter in a very deep long book, and we think it's so significant, everything in this, but actually it's so insignificant, really. And again, it's one thing to say all these things, another one is to live it. But hey, that's the task we have. But at least first to see that we're our own worst enemy. Our attachments and our desires are causing us difficulty. So at least if we can recognize that and then move along that path, and gradually we'll come out of all the chaos and we'll get some shelter once again. Any other reflection? Okay, so I think we will complete at that point. I thank you all so much. Thank you for sharing your realizations and reflections, and for basically for being here and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam together. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
जय वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हिज ग्रेस जय शिला प्रभु की जय। शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.